Okay, we're ready to begin the press conference. So, as I think you all know, W Series is the all-new single-seater racing series for female drivers only. And W Series will be racing on the DTM platform this year at Hockenheim, Zolder, Misano, Lausitzring, Assen and Brands Hatch. So we're joined now by two important people from W Series. Catherine Bond-Muir, W Series Chief Executive Officer, and Dave Ryan, W Series Racing Director. I know some of you were expecting David Coulthard to join us. David Coulthard, of course, you know well as an ex-Formula One driver. He is the chairman of W Series Advisory Board, but sadly David is unable to do so today. He's unable to be with us today. But anyway, if I could start with you, Catherine. Please tell us how you came up with W Series and why the world needs it now.
Well, I started off my professional career as a solicitor that specialised in sport. I was an intellectual property lawyer that went on into sport, and then I went into corporate finance doing sports deals, buying and selling and floating different sports businesses. I'm a very old mother. I had a baby at 45, and when I was deciding what I was going to do after a 2-year career break, I was chatting to a couple of friends who work in motorsport, and they mentioned the idea of a women's motor racing series. I thought, well, that's a really interesting idea to begin with, and then I did some more research, and I thought that was a really rubbish idea because women and men can compete equally, so why should there be a women's series? And then I did more research, and if you look at the numbers of women who are racing in single-seaters over the previous 8 years, the numbers and the stats were actually going down. So the status of women in the most senior parts of motorsport was actually getting worse, it wasn't improving. And therefore I believe that something had to change within motorsport. There are lots of fantastic initiatives that are going on all around the world, led by the FIA Women's Commission and Dare to be Different, about getting women into motorsport at the grassroots level. And of course that has to happen. But being the impatient person that I am, I think that things need to change. And if we just look at all the drivers here now and what's going to happen, in a couple of weeks' time, we're going to get 18 women onto the grid. And that is changing motorsport immediately overnight. And that has never happened before.
And just to be clear, these drivers are not going to have to pay anything to race in W Series, are they?
No, we're paying all of the expenses, all of the driving expenses. High Tech is our team, and Dave is looking after the engineers and the mechanics. And yes, it is free to enter, which means that our drivers can come to us, and what we have done is we've selected the best drivers who applied to us. We believe that we've got the best female drivers in the world driving in W Series, and we are going to put the world's spotlight for media on them, and hopefully is that we can make stars of our drivers, and they therefore can attract more sponsorship so they can go on into international Formula 3, Formula 2 and who knows, into Formula 1.
So as you've made very clear, it's completely free to the drivers, no cost at all. They're driving for free this summer. But more than that, there's actually prize money on offer, isn't there? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the whole prize pot is $1.5 million, and the winner of the whole championship is going to get $500,000. But actually, every single driver who drives in the series will get some money at the end of the season.
One of the things you alluded to in your introduction was that for some reason, women have not managed to, or young women have not managed to get on the ladder. They hit this glass ceiling. We hear this phrase, the glass ceiling. Tell us a little bit about that glass ceiling and why, historically and recently, girls and young women have not managed to progress past about the Formula 4, Formula 3 level. Why is that? Could you explain why that is?
Well, when I was doing the research 3 years ago into this, that women at that point were just not getting beyond Formula 3, and there are a number of our drivers who have driven in GP3 historically. So the question was, why was that? And ultimately, it was down to money. And I think it's because it's been 43 years since a woman has driven in Formula One, and that path for women into Formula One seems to have grown over. And therefore, we've positioned the cars at the Formula 3 level to attract as many women as high a level as we possibly can, so we can give them not only the testing experience, but certainly the racing experience at that level to help them propel them forward. And because we're making stars of them, as I said before, they can therefore attract more money so they can afford the Formula 2 and hopefully the Formula 1 drives.
Well, those are absolutely startling statistics, Catherine. 900 drivers have raced in Formula One in the 70 seasons of Formula One, and only 2 of them have been women, and the last one 43 years ago. So that has to change, and W Series is changing it. So startling statistics, as I say. But what do you say to W Series critics who say that segregation of the sexes is a bad idea?
Well, segregation of the sexes is obviously a bad idea. We believe that very truly. But we aren't segregating our drivers. We're encouraging all of our drivers to drive against men. What we are doing is just giving the women in motorsport a new opportunity. And that is what W Series is about, is just giving women a new opportunity. There are lots of, in higher formulae, in Formula One, there have been reserve drivers, there have been test drivers, but there haven't been any racing drivers. And that's really what we're about. We're about the nuts and bolts of motorsport and getting women into racing.
And obviously the backdrop behind you are DTM sponsors, not W Series sponsors. And we're very proud to be racing on the DTM platform with our friends and partners at DTM. But tell us a little bit about the plans that W Series has for partnerships and sponsorships.
Well, as you know, sponsors tend to come after media deals, and we're very excited that in the next few weeks we're going to be announcing some very significant media deals, and those are going to be television deals all over the world. And I am pretty confident that in probably about 75% of the world will be showing W Series, and so we're very excited about that. And flowing from that, we will get more sponsorship because we want to sell W Series to very high quality sponsors, and they need media deals in place before that can happen. As you know, that there was over $6 billion went into motorsport sponsorship last year. And what we're saying, and what everyone here knows, is that motorsport is predominantly a male-orientated sport. W Series is setting out to change that, and so if we can just grab a small percentage of that, we will be doing very well as a business.
Thank you, Catherine. Some brilliant insights there. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, we will be taking questions from the floor in a minute, so do be prepared to ask your questions. But first, before I do ask questions from the floor, which can be directed to either Catherine or Dave, let's just go on to Dave. Now, many of you here will already know Dave Ryan, who worked as a director of the McLaren Formula One team for more than 30 years, alongside Ron Dennis, of course, but also Jochen Maas, German driver, of course, who Dave worked very closely with more than 40 years ago, James Hunt, Niki Lauda, Alan Prost, Ayrton Senna, Gerhard Berger, Mika Hakkinen, Lewis Hamilton, and many more. Anyway, let's bring you up to the here and now, Dave. Dave, you were in charge of W Series driver selection program, and we had 2 events, one at Melk in Austria and one more recently at Almeria in Spain. Could you tell everybody here basically what went on at those 2 events and why you devised it in the way you did and what came out of it?
Okay, I'll try again, that's better. So we partnered with Alex Wertz International, Test and Training International, and we took 58 drivers to Melk. Now, the reason we chose Test and Training International is they're a well-recognized company. They've done, I think, 3 million or 4 million people they've had go through their program doing various exercises and what have you. The main thing that tipped us in that direction actually is they did the FIA Young Driver Academy. So they had a well-proven formula to do the sort of work that we did. And it was hard, you know. We took the 58 drivers down there. The conditions were very challenging, snow, ice. They were driving saloon cars, not single-seater cars. And they went through a range of very difficult disciplines. But we came out of that test with 28 drivers, and we took them onwards to Almeria. Now, at Almeria, they drove the F3 car for the first time. Almeria is quite a difficult track. None of the drivers had been there before. And the purpose of that was to get down to our final 18 drivers and 2 reserve drivers, or 4 reserve coming forward. It was tough for the drivers. All of them did a fantastic job, and it was really difficult to actually make the right choice. I think we have made the right choice, and I'm really happy with the drivers that we've arrived at the moment.
And tell us a little bit about the drivers in general. Obviously, you've worked for a lifetime in Formula One, exclusively with male drivers, really. So tell us what you found in general. I'm not talking about individuals, just give us an overall impression of what you thought of our drivers. Bear in mind they're listening.
Oh, I do have to be careful because they're all listening. Actually, I was very pleasantly surprised. I mean, the competitive spirit is there, obviously, but they've all been helping each other. They've been working hard with each other, but they've been pushing each other as well. And best of all, they listen. Unlike a lot of drivers I've worked with who think they know it all, this group of drivers are fantastic. They listen. They understand the opportunity they've been given as well, and that's a great thing. And I'm just loving every minute of it. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Now, the car that we have selected, or you, Dave, have selected for the inaugural year of W Series racing is the Tatuus T-318 Formula 3 car. Tell us a bit about that car and why you selected it.
Yeah, sure. We were looking for a relevant car for this championship. Relevant today means a turbocharged engine, it means a halo, and it just so happened that Tatuus came along with this new generation regional F3 car, and it just fitted the bill exactly. It's got a 1750cc turbocharged engine. It's got, as I say, the halo. It complies with all of the latest FIA safety regulations, and it's just a great little car. It's relevant, it's right up to date, it's quick, it's 270 horsepower, and the weight we run it at with the drivers is 672 kilos. So it's a really competitive little package. If you've been watching it out there today, I think you'll agree it's a quick race car. And for the drivers, it's a challenge to get it right. So it's absolutely the right car for us.
Thank you very much. Now, can I take any questions from journalists in the room? Does anybody want to ask a question? I have some questions that have come through from Twitter, so I can always ask those. But obviously, if anybody wants to ask a question in the room, they take precedence. But I'll kick off with the first question that's come through on Twitter, and it's actually one for you, Dave. So I'll read it out. The question is, what are the main benefits of using simulators to prepare the drivers? And do you see a future that sim drivers can be used in a real race car?
Right. Well, for us, the simulators are a vital part of what we're doing. You know, we have a regulation in place that our drivers can't test at the circuit prior to the event. But a lot of our drivers haven't been to some of the circuits. Some have, some haven't. So the program we have in place is on the prior to each event, all of the drivers will have a session in the simulator with their engineer. And then at the event themselves, they'll have another session prior to the first practice session, and we'll continue like that through the season. So for us, it's a way of the driver learning the circuit, getting a sort of a first look at it before they get out in the car. The simulator we've got, or we have 5 of them actually, they're very, very up to date. We're very confident that when our drivers go on the track for the first session, they'll be pretty well prepared for what's coming. In terms of can a simulator prepare a driver for the real thing? Well, we've already seen that in Nissan, in GT3 racing, where Nissan use it to prepare drivers. It's worked. So whether it can work on a large scale, I couldn't say.
But as far as W Series is concerned, for instance, our simulators that are here at Lausitzring are configured for Hockenheim, I assume, in order to prepare the drivers for the next event. That's the case, Dave, is it?
Correct. I should have said that. Yeah. So yes, we have the simulators here. They are set up for Hockenheim. The first race is Hockenheim. When they arrive at Hockenheim on Thursday, they will have another session in the simulator, again for Hockenheim. And then after the race at Hockenheim, our race is on the Saturday. So Sunday, the drivers all get to go on the simulator again, where they prepare for the following event.
So in that route, in that way, we're preparing our drivers as best we possibly can for each race in turn. The next question out of Twitter, but again, I can take any questions in the room if anybody is feeling less shy now. But the next Twitter question, which is one for you, Catherine. Could you please shed some light on the funding sources and business model of W Series?
Okay, so all the funding that we've received to date has been through equity. So we are set up as a business and investors have invested in us. So there has been a frequent criticism of W Series that we're actually taking money out of motor racing and putting that money into a women's motor racing series. We aren't doing. We're bringing brand new, fresh money into motorsport. Those people who have invested in W Series have all said that they would not put money into individuals. And that money that we've raised, we hope and we believe will make a sustainable business model. A business that will continue for many years going forward. If that money was just put into individual drivers on an annual basis, then it would probably be spent in 1 year, and then we would have to go round and raise all that money again.
Thank you, Catherine. Another question for you that's come through on Twitter. You've mentioned the reward in terms of $500,000 for the winner, out of a total prize pot of $1.5 million. But the questioner asks, is there a specific reward other than the cash for the W Series winner, overall series winner? For instance, an F1 test or to help with access to Formula 2, Formula E? That's the question.
Good. Our whole ethos is about giving all of our drivers a greater access to other series. We may in the future have some tie-up to give an associated reward apart from a cash prize. That isn't in place at the moment, but certainly in future years that may well be in place. But what we do really believe is that what we're doing for all of these drivers here is creating an environment that makes them more capable as individuals from going on and going forward. And frankly, if they're going up the scale, it's up to them as individuals to make things happen. You know, we are giving them an opportunity. We can control our own environment. What we can't control is other people's environments. And that's the challenge for the drivers going forward. As we all know, motor racing is a tough sport. All professional sport is a tough sport. But we hope that we're equipping them with better skills to go on.
Thank you. Another question has come through on Twitter. Dave, this one is for you. The question is, will there be any further in-season testing after this Lausitzring test, or will the drivers simply rely on sim work with their new engineers between races?
Well, the plan at the moment is for there not to be any further testing, but you know we keep a flexible approach on things. So if we feel there's a need for it, we will do it. We're pretty confident the simulators will do everything we need, so we're comfortable on that. There is just one thing on the prize money I'd like to add, though. You know, this $500,000 prize money is real. It's not. We're not saying they have to spend it or invest it into another drive or another program. It is, as Catherine said, just a cash prize. And they can do with it what they want. And that's pretty unique. When you see these prizes offered in the past, there's usually a catch to it. There is no catch to this, and I think that's important to say.
And by the way, on that same basis, there's nothing to stop our best drivers, our most successful drivers, or indeed the one who wins the series, from entering the series again next year and winning another $500,000 potentially, Catherine, is there? There's no reason why somebody should not race in W Series for more than one season or more than two.
Well, obviously, the winner of our the W Series first year is going to be racing in Formula One next year. Joke, everyone, by the way, before everyone takes that too seriously. Yes, of course, we welcome our drivers to keep staying with W Series. And in fact, today we've already had a number of drivers asking whether they will be able to come back and drive with us next year. I think hopefully we've created a lot of goodwill towards us. You're going to hear from them in the future, so you can ask them directly yourself. But what we want to do is create a movement for women in motorsport, so we can just raise the profile of women, and hopefully going forward the women will become more competitive against the men.
Final question from Twitter, Catherine, again from you. I think it could be from Dave, but I'll throw it to you, Catherine. How can I get involved in W Series?
Well, it depends if so it depends who you are. The press here, if you're an individual, as I mentioned earlier on, we are going to have TV deals covering a very significant part of the world. So it is likely that you can watch us on television. You can become a friend of W Series, you can come onto our website, you can become associated with us, we can send you newsletters, and of course you can watch us all across our digital and social media platforms.
And of course, it's not just in the cockpit. If you're interested in being a race mechanic or race engineer, we're very, very open in terms of encouraging women to do that, Dave, aren't we?
Very much so. I mean, we're not just about developing race drivers. We want to develop every aspect of going racing. So it's going to take a while, but we want mechanics, we want engineers, we want everybody involved to feel that females can apply for any position. And we're open to training them, anything it takes. So yeah, it's wide open.
Thank you very, very much. That's Catherine Muir, Chief Executive Officer, Dave Ryan, Racing Director. If you want to know more, look at wseries.com and all over social media at W Series Racing. Thank you very much.